Star Radio UK. My name is KBA Bossman, and my co-host is going to be introduced shortly. But our very special guest is also ready to join us any moment from now. But let me say that it's been last year was good in the sense that we serve you to the best of our ability, and I believe that this year will be even bigger and better, and I can guarantee you that tonight. If you can do us a favor, please do share with friends, family, and colleagues, because my very special guest is extremely experienced in her field, and she's been doing this for well over 20 years, and so she's going to share with us how it all started and where she is now. So it's going to be amazing. The young ones amongst us, please do join and keep on sharing. It's gonna be a super awesome time, and I am enjoying every bit since I got to interact with our very special guest, Maureen. She's such an amazing woman that is well endowed and knows what she's talking about. One of the few that has gone through the ranks when it comes to law, and she amazed me with the kind of experience that she's got, and I can say for a fact that you will not be disappointed, but rather you will be connecting with her. And so I will be just connecting straight up in a moment, and I believe that good evening, Maureen.
Good evening, Cody. Good evening, listeners. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year to you too. Wonderful. You're looking very, very good and amazing as well. Much. Wonderful. And let me say that it's so humbling to have you tonight on the Property Hour show for the first time.
Thank you for having me.
We highly appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Now, we'll kickstart the interview, which I believe that it's going to be. I'm loving it already, because it's one of the things that most of the time we overlook, even though we're in business, and so we'll get into that. But let me ask, who is Maureen? And if you can give us a little background of yourself and your career and how far you've come, please.
Okay, I started off. I trained as a barrister initially,
right?
And then years later, I was qualified and became a solicitor, and that was back 20 plus years ago now.
You don't look it.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Thanks for saying that. Very kind of you. And then 3.5 years ago, I started the practice. And we are doing. So we focus on business analytics and nationwide primarily.
Okay, that's amazing. And you've been a barrister in the past, and how has that been? How have you been able to cope in that field? It's the same law, but that's a different terrain, isn't it?
Yes. So when you're a student studying, doing your first degree in law at university, you come to the point so you make a choice whether you're going to go on train as a barrister or going to train as a solicitor.
Okay.
And if you're going to train as a barrister, then you're going through the BBC route. I know they call it something else nowadays. I'm showing my age here.
The younger ones.
If you're going to train as a solicitor, then you go about the legal practice course route. Somebody like myself, my first degree was in biomedical science. It wasn't actually law. So I went on to do the CPE, which is a common professional exam. It's a postgraduate diploma course. And then from there, I then chose to train as a barrister, so I did the vocational course. This is 20 years ago now, 21 years ago actually.
Wow.
And then after that, I worked as an import barrister, worked within the service, and various roles that I did. And then decided to sit some more exams. So to retrain as a solicitor, you have to sit the QLTT, which is a qualified lawyer's transfer test.
Yeah.
I sat that, and then became a solicitor. Was admitted as a solicitor.
Wow, amazing. And so, I mean, between you mentioned that in the last 3 years, is it 3 years?
3.5 years, coming up to 4 years this year.
Oh, okay. So between the last, not the last 3.5 years and now, but between the period, I mean, 21 years ago, if I can put it that way. So we're talking about, is it
1999, 2000?
Yeah. So between those times, because we always hear about men being barristers. As a woman, how did you feel in that field?
Yeah, it was at the time actually when I was in law school. There's a mixture of different people, certainly gender-wise. It was I would say it was balanced. The race side of things wasn't particularly balanced. There was a lot less people from the community that were training to be balanced as men. It certainly got better the last few years, but it's still there. Yeah, majority of barristers.
Right.
It could be better. So
it could be better.
Could be better.
No, I asked that question because we from our research we know that there are younger ones from the ages of 25 that watch us and listen to us, and they might be ladies that are looking to make decisions, and so your story might be an inspiration to them, and that's the reason for my question. But
yes,
I can see that you've done marvelously well. Now let's come to what you specialize in at the moment, which happens to be business law and HMO, landlords and issues surrounding that. Now I want us to break it down a little bit. Let's start with business law.
Okay.
Generally, what would you say business law is about?
Okay, essentially, I like to put it this way: if you're in business in the United Kingdom, then you have to comply with certain regulations.
Yes.
So for members of the public that are in business, they have to comply with things like health and safety, trading laws, so trading standards, environmental health, and that relates to business waste, how you get rid of your business waste from your business premises. Planning enforcement, planning law, if that's what
planning law, okay.
Whereby people are looking perhaps to extend their business premises, so they have to comply with planning laws and planning regulations. And then commercial contracts, so if you're in business, you have to have contracts in place, properly drafted contracts by lawyers, not documents printed off or from the internet, because what I was finding is people would print off contracts from the internet, but it may not be for the purpose they need it for. My voice is actually echoing. I don't know if there's any way.
Yeah. I think. Do you have a headset? Is it possible? Do you have a?
We don't have them at the moment to hand.
Okay. I think we can manage it like that. If it's okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, based on the answer you've given, you mentioned about people in business printing documents off the internet. Now, I'm not going to mention some of the website, but there are websites that they will tell you these are they are legal documents prepared by solicitors, and it complies with the laws of the land and all those stuff. So are you saying that those documents, because are they not specific, or they're not fit for purpose?
Yeah, I'm aware of the websites that will say that, and it's fine. But the main issue that really people be aware of is if there are things that perhaps the contract that you've printed off doesn't actually address, then because you've printed something off, you can't really ask questions of a live lawyer to actually look at, explain the consequences to you. So they're fine. That's standard templates for people to follow. But again, all cases are different. And every type of business is different as well. So if it's applicable to somebody's business and they're happy that they pay the fee and it's working for them, it's okay. But by and large, we'll always recommend people to make sure the contract what they needed to pay, and B, that it's fit for their purpose, and C, that it's legally enforceable should something go wrong. Because I always like to look at things from the worst case scenario. For instance, if one of the parties fails to comply with that contract, what would be the consequences for the other party?
Right. Okay. So, if let's say the consequences, as you've mentioned, but I get a document of the internet, which my hands are up because I've done it before, and if I print it off and God forbid something comes up with regards to the law, negligence of the law, it's not an excuse, is it?
Of the law is.
So it means that we have to, and why? Okay, I'm getting a bit like we tend to want to avoid cost, so
yes,
we want the shortcut, so we cut corners.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
what would be I'm sorry, but I know you know my friend Vikash, and whenever he's on the show and I start to talk like this, you start laughing because he knows that I'm quite passionate about what I'm saying. So please forgive me. It's not for any reason. So what I'm saying is that the why do you think people cut corners? Let me put it that way.
I think, okay, first thing, when you say to somebody you're going to need something of advice, they imagine that it's going to cost. They just think, gosh, it's going to cost them money. But what people should bear in mind is I'm just, it's all hypothetical, obviously. I don't know how much these template contracts are. Should something go wrong, you've obviously taken physical legal advice, you've printed something off. That contract would have been properly drafted, obviously, by somebody legally qualified. However, you have not actually spoken to them. You have not explained your own personal situation. You've just printed it off because you, in your mind as a layperson, this is applicable for my needs. So something goes wrong, if a breach of contract happens, or you cannot then fulfill your obligations under the terms of the contract. The other side decides to see you're looking at quite a few £1,000 in engagement. So if you think standard litigation can start from 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, depending on the type of issue we're talking about here, and perhaps a general advice looking at a contract and then redrafting the terms to actually suit your business needs could cost you maybe, again, hypothetical figures I'm throwing out there, £1,000. You'd think the consequence of paying £5,000-10,000 to paying 1,000 or 1,500 for a lawyer to look through the document. I think some will say there's a huge disparity
exactly
in the cost there.
Okay. And in talking about business law, we're looking across board, all sectors. Is that not okay? So it applies to even let's say artists and all those stuff. So right, it looks more like in the UK, when you look at artists and some of the self-employed people, they are quite, they are ready to engage your services rather than people that have their own businesses that tends to look inward or get something off the shelf. So that's very key. That is very key. Let me also ask this, that in terms of specifics, as in property law, do you deal with property law?
We do as a firm. So I have a colleague that deals with the commercial leases side of things.
Right.
Me personally, I deal mainly with the HMO regulation side of things. So for people that invest in properties, that invest in HMO properties specifically, because it's a very lucrative area of property, but equally it's heavily regulated.
Okay, and it looks like when it comes to HMOs, I'm just taking my time because it looks like I've had this conversation with Vikash on this show before, that it looks like landlords are the biggest receivers of everything that has got to do with not fines, but tariffs. When it comes out, it's against landlords. Tenants are always laughing. Now, when it comes to landlords, what do you do for landlords?
Okay, so I should have said at the beginning, I was a former prosecutor prosecuting business owners as well as HMO landlords.
Super.
So that's one of the things that I've done. So I've seen it from being a legal advisor to magistrates, sitting with them as they pronounce their sentences.
Okay.
And I've also been on the other side where I'm local authorities as a prosecutor. So I've seen it all from those angles.
Yeah.
So now that I'm working with HMO landlords, the most common things that I find are people not thinking their properties are HMO properties. So unlicensed HMOs, breach of HMO management regulations, so not complying with the regulations that need to be complied with. And with HMO investment, you have two types of people. There are those that are professionals, that they're doing their normal job, whether they are doctors, dentists, accountants, normal business owners, whatever it is that they're doing in their normal day lives. And then they also invest in properties. And their choice in terms of investment is HMO properties. So those ones, unfortunately, when things go wrong, it's because they made a mistake. They're not doing those things on purpose. So they are kind of be doing, but they simply just blatantly refuse to actually do those things. The income, the money that they're making from the HMO properties are more important to them than the rules and regulations.
Wow. And with that comes strict there are strict laws, I know, that governs that from borough to borough.
Yes.
And with that, we've had situations where, is it okay, let me give this story, and if you can advise now. They got the license, the landlord got a license for 5 people, but he had 2 extra rooms and decided to use it as a 7-bed. Is that wrong?
Yes, because that means because the HMO license has, say, different different definitions. There's a small HMO and then there's the large HMO. So in effect, what he had was a standard HMO license. Where it's 7 or more people, then clearly it's gone over. He's gone over. He's in breach of his HMO license.
Okay, and I've come across is breach of the rules. Okay, I've come across supported living companies that say that they don't need the HMO license when dealing with them, and I'm quite surprised, because I believe that if there's any how do you call it, it's one rule. So why would a supported living company not need one? Is there a reason, or does it vary?
Certain sections of businesses that are and education establishments that are actually exempted under the legislation. So that is one of them.
Okay, if you can please, Maureen, if you can please come again with the answer, please. I think.
Yes, no, I said there are certain organisations that are exempted from having an HMO license, and that's one of them.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, then that's amazing. If you've just joined us, we are live on the Property Hour show on Star Radio UK. Our very special, distinguished guest is Maureen Ogbu, and she is a former barrister and a solicitor. Her specialty is business law and HMO landlord issues, and you will never go wrong with her. I can promise you that. I know what she can do, and what she will make it happen for you. And the amazing thing is that I've had my co-host join me, Vicky Newton. Vicky, welcome.
Thank you. My apologies.
Welcome, and
thank you.
Wonderful. So, Maureen, please let me ask this question before Vicky comes in. Are there any new legislation? In at the moment when it comes to HMO that we will need to be updated? I mean, possibly in the last year or so.
Yeah, the main thing really is it's all been the Housing Act 2004. They keep changing or adding things. So obviously people would be aware of the mandatory licensing, additional licensing, or selective licensing. So those two, it depends on the area where you are in the country. And generally local authorities tend to have consultations.
Right.
So where landlords will have an input into a scheme that's being that's actually coming into their area before they're inputted. So I'm sure people will be aware of those three main things: the mandatory licensing scheme, the additional licensing scheme, and the selective licensing scheme. There are lots of areas in London would have at least two of those. And generally local authorities have their reasons for implementing them. For instance, the selective licensing, I'm aware that they would implement that particular scheme in certain areas because of antisocial behaviour orders where there's a high rate of antisocial behaviour. They then try to put things in to make it more onerous for landlords, really. Because I guess if you think about it, the whole point of having the licensing scheme in the first instance is to make sure that HMO landlords are registered and therefore housing standards can be assessed in order to safeguard tenants. That's really the idea behind why it's heavily regulated.
That is one thing I always say, and I've mentioned it this evening, that it looks like all the laws favor tenants, and I think one of the shows we said that possibly it's because of the vote, because there are more tenants than landlords, so possibly legislatures will want to get more votes from the landlords, from the tenants than the landlords. But on a more fairer note, is there anything that landlords do landlords have a strong representation when it comes to legislation? Because it looks like their hands are tied.
If you think you're a landlord, you've done everything properly, then regulations in these areas inside out and able to liaise on your behalf with the authority, because people imagine that they're in their ivory tower as the local authorities and they don't quite know who to speak to. When it comes to somebody that's obviously experienced in dealing with them, they know exactly who to contact and the right things to say. Just give you an example, I had a case a few weeks just before Christmas, where somebody was invited for an interview under caution, and there was a list of things they were really concerned about, and they were going to actually go into that interview without having sought legal advice. Luckily for them, an introduction was made to myself, and I spoke to them, and actually as I was talking to them, it became obvious that they all said all the wrong things. if they had actually attended without speaking to myself, if they had attended the interview. Because when you attend an interview, after caution, it's being recorded.
Okay.
Proceedings. The whole point is obviously it's investigative at that time. With housing prosecutions against landlords, I've had instances where people have said to me, is it a criminal offence?
Yeah.
Will I get a conviction? I say, yes, it is.
Wow.
Just like the business law that we spoke about, as a business owner, if something goes wrong, you find yourself before the criminal courts because they're regulatory problems.
Wow. That tells me that there are some dangerous grounds that we're always joking around with, and we take it for granted.
Yes, yeah. I mean, the fines, Boston, used to be a maximum of £20,000 a few years ago. Now, for breaches of any of these things, whether it's the business regulations or the HR regulations, they are unlimited fines.
Unlimited.
So
wow.
Unlimited. And you may be aware, obviously, with HMOs, the local authority has the discretion whether to either prosecute or issue a civil penalty notice. A civil penalty would be a maximum of £30,000 fine. However, the HMO landlord has a choice whether to appeal that amount, obviously, appeal it before the Mercy Tribunal, the property chat, or accept it and pay it off as an alternative to prosecution.
Wow. Amazing. This is incredible. But let me Vicky, did you want to come in now?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Maureen.
Hello, good evening, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. Maureen, do you also deal with landlords who are having issues with tenants in arrears during this pandemic? Such landlords who want to get rid of such tenants?
Yeah, unfortunately, there are quite a lot of landlords that are having issues.
Exactly.
I've had instances where people are in arrears, and because the legislation being the way it is, you can't, unfortunately, issue proceedings. I advise people, say to them, try and negotiate as much as you can with the tenant.
Okay.
Try and agree a payment plan.
Right.
And just see how you get on with that. There are some instances where people are even maybe paying the tenant to actually leave the property, because with litigation, with issuing proceedings, it's taking up to 12 months, even beyond, unless the only instance where the courts are looking at for proceedings can be expedited, hearings can be expedited. Are instances where there's maybe domestic violence or antisocial behaviour, that sort of thing. So it's a very difficult time indeed, and if you're unlucky to have the wrong tenants that A is not looking after the property, B is not paying the rent, then it has to be really managed carefully. So you're not criticised, particularly because everybody's aware of what's going on and the legislation that has really protected people from having their homes repossessed, because that's the aim effectively.
So does that mean that all the arrears? How do the landlords get their money back?
Proceedings will still be issued. It's just a case of how long it will take to get to be heard in court. That's the point. Yeah, because if it's just rent, just obviously it's never just really. It's a lot of money that they're owing something. They're paying the mortgage. But I always say, if there's a way of agreeing a payment plan, then at least somebody's getting something in. Okay. There's nothing still stopping you issuing proceedings, obviously, but I think on a practical level, the hearings are not happening in the time frame that one would expect it to happen before COVID, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
It's taking longer. The hearings are just taking longer. If there's something else happening, for instance, there's antisocial behaviour coupled with the rent arrears, then I would say, as a landlord, you have a stronger chance of perhaps having the hearing being pushed forward.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay. But definitely one must still go for their rent arrears because they're owing money and you're paying your mortgage on property, then you still have to go. It's just a case of how long you have to wait till you get the property back.
Okay. Because Maureen, you see, so in this scenario, it looks like it's rather comes at a cost to the landlord. Can you hear me now? Is it clearer?
Yes. Please repeat again. I did.
All right. Okay. So, looking at this scenario, it looks like it comes at a cost to the landlord. What are the effects on the tenant? Does it affect their credit file or whatever if the landlord is in arrears? Because we've realized some tenants are taking advantage of, this pandemic, saying that I can't pay the rent, and when you ask for evidence from them showing that they are having financial difficulty, some of them refuse. So to the tenant, what can the landlord use against the tenant? That if you don't try to come to an agreement with the landlord, is going to affect you in a way. Maybe you getting, trying to get another property in regards to referencing, or can the landlord apply to have that person put on a credit file that he or she has been in arrears? Because it looks like the tenants get away with it.
As like any other debt, one can actually apply to the county court to get a county court judgment. And obviously that would affect the tenant's credit file.
Wow. Okay.
Thank you. Are you anyway? I'll come back to you. But I was reading through a text that's come through from Ken, and Ken is saying that as a former prosecutor, if you happen to have people use your property for illegal purposes, what would you advise when you? He's saying that when you got there, they had absconded, they ran away, if I can put it in plain terms. What would you advise you do to such people when the police will tell you the people that committed the crime are not available at the minute to be arrested?
Yes, it depends. I'm just trying to understand. Are they former tenants? Are they tenants?
Yeah, former tenants. Sorry. Yes.
Okay. So I guess it will be once they've reported it to the police. Obviously, they need to. That's the first thing, and then they will need to do some digging to find out where they've gone, where they've moved on to. So, for instance, if somebody was taken on tenants from the beginning, they would obviously have references. They would have a few ID documents, such as proof of who they are, the ID documents, a date of birth, and that sort of thing. They would have to have references, hopefully. There are so many scenarios, really. I'm just being one scenario now.
Right, okay.
And if when the property was rented out to them, there was a guarantor, that person could also be contacted and then ascertain where those individuals would have got to.
Okay.
Those are the sorts of things I would assume that they want to also know. That would help them in their investigation. Otherwise, it becomes a little bit difficult. There's no defendant per se to charge with an offence. So the more information they give to the police to help during the course of their investigation, the better, really. But if the landlord is able to conduct their own investigations insofar as asking about those individuals, there's a guarantor, contact the guarantor, so that guarantor would be liable, really, because they would have signed agreement when the tenancy was taken out to vouch for that particular tenant. But on the other hand, if there isn't a guarantor, then unfortunately the landlord would just have to conduct their own investigation alongside the police and help as much as they can to try and locate them.
Okay.
Maybe perhaps asking the neighbours if they are speaking terms with the neighbours before they rent out the property, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's a difficult one. There is no black and white answer. It all depends on the scenario, really.
Okay. All right.
It all depends on these things. I'm merely hypothesizing because I don't think the gentleman has been quite clear as to was that guarantor, there wasn't a guarantor, that sort of thing. But yeah, it would be the police, and I was trying to do some digging around themselves to find out as much as they can. You can't prosecute somebody that you don't know their whereabouts.
Okay. There's another text that says that what are your fees when it comes to landlords? Landlords, if you are to advise a landlord and set up an agreement for them.
Okay, the fees vary really, so I'm not really going to discuss the details on this show.
Yeah.
The first thing is somebody books in a consultation, and then we'll go through what they need. So not one size fits all. One size doesn't really fit.
Exactly.
Because what may fit one lord may not fit the other.
Okay.
So we're happy to take calls from people tomorrow if it's a booking for a consultation. Then we'll discuss the fees then.
Brilliant. Okay, and so before we wrap up, you'll leave your details for the listeners and viewers to be able to contact you, and I believe that will be something very unique because there's a lot of in the system, and possibly you because of confidentiality, so maybe you will not be able to share everything with us. But I believe that if you are to advise us or to talk about how people bend their fingers, would you want to share something? Just, not my details.
Give some examples. Obviously, we never really name anybody.
Yes.
I can give some examples.
Yes.
So I did a case back in February.
Okay.
Just 2 weeks before lockdown.
Right.
I represented a client that has an HMO property in West London.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, by the time he was referred to me, he'd been in negotiations. I probably wouldn't say negotiations, more lots of correspondence and phone calls with the local authority for about 2.5 years.
Right.
So what happened, he had bought a property, had then extended it without planning permission.
Oh my.
So, and he said the agent he had bought the property from assured him that there was an HMO license base. HMO license does not go from property to property, is to the individual, to the person that's considered a fit and proper person to hold the license. So if you're somebody that's buying a property, 5 bedrooms, or whatever size it is, you're intending to rent that property on a room-by-room basis to make more money than a buy-to-let property, then you have to make the application yourself. Or certainly estate agent has said to you that there's an HMO license in place, you need that. You need to have sight of it to make sure that it covers you, and it normally lasts for 5 years. So first of all, he hadn't done that. The second thing is he had not complied with planning regulations. So unfortunately for him, they issued proceedings against him for having a property with a licensed HMO, and then breach of planning regulations, planning enforcement notice was issued. So he was adamant that he had all these documents and said, no, you don't. And also the building was done to a high standard. So the building regulations he had complied with, but I think he was a bit confused with all the regulations. He assumed that because his architect has said that he complied with building regulations, therefore he was complying with all the other regulations, but actually he wasn't. So unfortunately for him, the prosecution ended up costing him £45,000.
Oh my!
And
days.
then he also then had to pay the costs for the prosecution, which was £15,000. So
what?
that's £60,000. I've also had cases where it's a couple, they're based in Nottingham, where the husband actually is a builder, he has a construction company, and the lady was the manager behind the business. Again, they thought they had actually complied with all the regulations, but as it turned out, they hadn't. By the time they came to me, they'd been to 3 other lawyers, and the quotes they were given from £60,000 to £45,000 because they left it so late in the day. And when they sat in my office to speak to me, obviously this was pre-COVID days, I had actually spotted in the charge sheet there were things they could have appealed. That time had expired, so the limitation period had expired and they hadn't actually made the appeal. So unfortunately they had 10 charges against them on the charge sheet. But because they came to me, and I'm a specialist in this area, we had 2 days. They came, I saw them on the Monday morning. The hearing was listed on the Wednesday. And I live in London, my office is in London, the hearing is in Nottingham. I saw them on Monday morning. The file was not really in order because it's gone through 3 different hands. I spotted a few things, and his wife was just sitting lower and lower in the chair's house. We said, oh my God, I just said, don't panic. We can rectify a few things. She wanted to pay me money. I said, no, I don't. We don't really do cash. You have to pay to the bank account. She was in such a state.
Yeah.
I took the file from them. I then worked on it on the Monday afternoon to Tuesday, and then Tuesday evening I got Maureen to Nottingham, and then was there on Wednesday morning representing them before the court. Before I had gone there, I had actually contacted local authority lawyer because I used to do that job. Negotiating on their behalf. They then de-instructed their counsel. Counsel was the barrister that was going to represent the local authority, and they would have been paying another £8,000 to the council to represent the local authority. So I'd already saved them money by going to the courtroom. And I was able to mitigate heavily on their behalf. They were guilty, they're guilty, but it's more to mitigate how you make the submissions that made the difference. So the fine was reduced from £150,000 to £30,000.
Wow.
£150,000. That would have been the fine and the cost against it because he owns a construction company. So the court, when they look at the offence, they look at the duration of non-compliance, and they look at the defendant's needs. Obviously, they had the needs. They had so they built very large properties, 7-bedroom houses, and they rented them out. That was the business they were in. They had the business for about 20 years. So those sorts of things that I'm able to see within less than 48 hours, I was able to save them a huge amount of money.
Wow.
That's the advantage of using somebody that's a specialist in these areas rather than generalists.
Fantastic. What a story. And it's so inspiring. And that brings your expertise to play. And that's a great help that you've offered to these guys, and we know that there's more to come. But so soon our time is up. I wish we can go on because I think that we'll have to have a look again at your convenience, because I know you're very, very busy and very hard to get hold of. because legal matters are key to success of any company. Just talking about even the last example you've given, it's something that we need to look into further and deeper, and get the best out of, to be able to learn and to protect ourselves, and to sort of get hold of your services, which is so unique. But before you leave us, if you can share your company details and how our viewers and listeners can get hold of you, that would be amazing.
Certainly. So we are, our website is www.maureenanderson.com. .com. We're based in King's Cross, Central London, so very easy to get to. However, I should stress, we are all working from home at the moment due to the COVID-19.
Yes.
So we will not be seeing anybody face to face. All our consultations are via Zoom or telephone, but most Zoom, so we can see who you are, you can see us, and we can obviously collect your ID details.
Okay, super. So it's www.ReenAnderson. So one word. That's
Maureen Anderson.
That's REEN Anderson. Anderson.com. And so that's right. REEN Anderson.com, and you can get hold of Maureen, very experienced solicitor. Former barrister. She specializes in landlords, because I am for landlords. Maureen, let me take my stance. I am for landlords. Period. That's me. If you ask Vikash, he'll tell you I stand for landlords. I used to be with the tenants, but I realized that the landlords were being battered left, right, center. Why are you laughing, Vicky?
That's why I'm keen to help them.
Exactly. Because everybody wakes up any other day, and they give they put a slap on the landlord with a charge, a fee, a what, and all the stuff. So it's like council and drivers. My producer is saying that it's like council and drivers, you know. It's like the council and drivers. And before Maureen you go, let me say a big shout out to you, David West, to say hello, good evening, and he said Happy New Year to you, Dave. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to you too. Hey, Pastor Albert Dankwa, he says fantastic. Pastor Albert, all the way from Oxford. Thanks, bro. And also one Wendy says good evening. Good evening, Wendy, and thank you guys for joining us. Our time is up, but before we exit,
I have a special offer to your viewers.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Oh, fantastic.
Okay. So, if they come through your show,
yes,
and they quote Baby or Bossman, then they will get a free 15-minute consultation.
Oh my!
Wow.
Okay.
So they can get some basic advice, but it's only 15 minutes. Obviously, if it's longer than that, that means their case is a lot more involved, and we'll talk about obviously the fees, but something that we're willing to offer to your audience.
Wow. That's
so that
amazing.
means they have to be short and precise.
They have to.
Within 15 minutes.
you make your list and make it precise and straightforward.
Go on for a little bit longer. We're not, we don't push people off the phone if it's longer. But if they come through your show, then obviously we can try and help.
Thank you so much, Maureen. Thank you.
Amazing.
You're welcome.
Amazing. And Bola Owagbayin Go says, good evening, Bola. Thank you for joining us. And our time is up. But Maureen, if you want to give a shout out to your loved ones, friends, family, anyone, please, you can feel free to do that.
Okay. Happy New Year, family, friends, anybody listening that knows who I am. Some of my clients, that they're Ghanaians, Nigerians. Hopefully, they're listening. If they're not listening, I would not be happy when I.
They are. I assure you, they are.
Amazing.
So good evening, happy new year to all of you, and hopefully we'll speak again and see each other later this year.
Definitely. Thank you so much, and it's a great privilege having you on the show. We highly appreciate you and your time as well, and I believe that we will definitely have you on the show. It's the legal things are
Thank
very
you for
key.
having me.
Yes, thank you, and have a good evening.
Thank you very much. You too.
All right then. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so Vicky, you heard it all. It's
Yes, I did.
you have to be. I know you are legal, you are compliant. Ladies are more than men,
Than
but
the men.
you see, men.
Corners.
Oh, I'm not saying I cut corners. I'm saying that ladies are more, law abiding.
Okay.
Than men. It's an open secret,
Right.
So for that, I know that you keep to what we need to be doing. Very key, and most especially when it comes to property, which is quite complicated sometimes. The little things that we overlook makes us vulnerable to the law, and that's very, very key.
And I hope and believe that I think a lot of men, correct me if I'm wrong,
I will do.
Participate and listen to this program more than the women.
That is very
so
that.
Because of the high number of men listening to the program to educate themselves, know what is going on, issues with the law and properties, I think they have to jump on this opportunity. 2021, they should try and put things in order.
But ladies are always like, oh, my husband will take care of it.
Exactly.
I will find somebody that will help me and all those stuff. So that's where we get all these challenges and difficulties. But hey, it's been a good night, a very good, a very brand new year, and I believe that this year is going to be bigger and better. We hope that you stick and stay with us.
Yes.
You'll be hearing more from
adhere to the law.
Adhere to the law. Okay. We'll stick. And the most amazing part of tonight is that Maureen she's given free 15 minutes for a solicitor to give you free 15 minutes.
Yes.
Oh my, do you know how much they charge?
Look, there are a lot of landlords who are going through so much.
It is
so much.
Very, very true.
Don't know where to go for advice. They should jump on this opportunity.
Seriously.
Yes.
And make sure to mention the Property Hour Show or Star Radio.
And get your 15 minutes free.
Get your 15 minutes for free. And so, the 5 minutes, I'll charge them the 5 minutes. But hey, join us next week. It's going to be another amazing time, and we're going to enjoy this journey this year. Please, it's going to be a learning curve, education, but you listening to us and watching us have to take action, because we will make sure we bring you the best. We'll bring you people that will make you and I learn, and we will go to school on the show. I can guarantee you that. And so thank you so much, Vicky. Thank you, Mr. Frank Davis. And join me this Sunday for another amazing time on Faith Talk. Oh my, you don't want to miss it. I have a general joining me this Sunday at 5 p.m. on Faith Talk. it's gonna be amazing. Your life will never be the same. So it's gonna be.
In fact, I must, commend you for a good job you are doing with Faith Talk.
Okay.
The diverse areas that you've been covering, different guests from all angles. I mean,
wow.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
It's amazing. You're really doing a good job with that show.
I'm humbled.
Yeah. Keep it up.
I'm humbled.
Keep it up. Yeah.
I'm humbled, and to God be the glory. It's somebody who says national service.
Okay.
And so we're offering our service, but thank you so much, and thank you so much, Maureen, for tonight. It's been a great night learning, and thank you. Have a good night. God bless. No stress, nothing less. Catch you same time, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on the Property Hour show. Thursday night we'll be here, God willing. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.